What's going on YouTube? It's Rebecca Lynn Matheson, aka the Canadian Cottage Girl, and today I'm joined by Ryan Carson from Carson Law, and you are not going to want to miss this video if you have considered buying a condo, have a condo under contract, or may buy one in the future. This has never happened before, guys, and you really got to pay attention to what's just happened here with this building company and condos here, right here in Ontario.
Yeah, so we do have some clients that have contracts with a builder, and it's a condominium. They got letters from the builder, and we followed up with the builder's lawyer. And essentially what's happened is the builder is actually exercising one of their conditions within the agreement of purchase and sale to terminate the existing contract with our buyers. I mean, in 16 years, I've never seen a builder need to say, we're terminating this project. And so, you know, the question all our clients are asking is it legal? Legal and right, legal and fair don't always collide together.
Welcome to the channel, Ryan.
Yeah, my pleasure to be here, like always.
Absolutely. Well, guys, before we get into the story, make sure that you smash that like button. It feeds the algorithm and really helps us out. And subscribe to the Canadian Real Estate channel down below, just so you do not miss a beat on any one of these videos. So let's get into this story. This is mind-blowing. Ryan literally just mentioned this in passing, and I said, let's talk about this. We got to share this with you guys so that you're informed. If you're considering buying a condo, like, this story has to be told. So let's talk about it. What happened? What's the scenario here?
Yeah, so we do have some clients that have contracts with a builder, and it's a condominium, and they received letters this month, like many others. It's quite a large condo tower, and they got letters from the builder, and we followed up with the builder's lawyer. And essentially what's happened is the builder, and this is where this never before kind of scenario you spoke about is kind of arisen, the builder is actually exercising one of their conditions within the agreement of purchase and sale to terminate the existing contract with our buyers and the buyers of this condo development. And the reason I say that's not really ever happened before is, I mean, in 16 years, I've never seen a builder need to say, we're terminating this project.
Right.
Because the builders are pretty certain, and the way the market's been, you know, with housing values just constantly going up, you know, most people when they buy a deal, especially if they buy early enough, you know, you're talking about 1, 2, 3 years of appreciated value before it gets anywhere close to being a finished product, right? And so obviously, not only have builders done well with the sale of these, which they're in their right to obviously do, but so have the individual buyers.
Right.
You know, you instantly have this appreciated value of a couple $100,000, which is attractive for people buying from a builder.
Yep.
But what's happened in this situation, and I speculate that it's come from everything that's occurred with COVID. Everybody knows that COVID unfortunately has created like supply and resource strains, transportation and like logistics are like snarled down, and costs of material, labor and everything's skyrocketed. And so originally in the COVID, when COVID started, all the builders, and rightfully so, were claiming, hey, this is under the unavoidable delay of the contract. This is kind of an act of God scenario. It's a pandemic, right? So no one can predict or control that. It's just bad luck, right?
Yep.
And so there were these notices given out about delays, right? But as COVID has, you know, dragged on for 2 to 3 years here, I think what you're seeing now is a byproduct of all this increase in cost, and now we see it with fuel, right? Like, you know, the fuel costs are going through the roof with gas and diesel, right?
Yep.
So everything costs so much more. So long story short, what's happened here is the buyers of these developments have gotten notices, the builder wants to terminate, and the clause in particular they're relying on is that they are not able to arrange satisfactory financing to themselves for the project, they being the builder.
Right.
So their financing is not satisfactory to them. And the wording is very particular and very clear to say this is a condition for the benefit of the builder solely.
Yep.
If the builder doesn't see that they can arrange satisfactory financing to themselves in their sole discretion, they can cancel the contract.
Right.
And so, you know, the question all our clients are asking is it legal? And so we've reviewed everything with our clients, and so far what we've seen is a lot of these contracts were originally entered into in like 2015, 2016, so quite some time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and it's going to be a beautiful development. It's going to be a fantastic, you know, feature in the city. But the issue is that now all these costs have skyrocketed, and so I think, you know, at the crux here is they're rightfully using, like legally using this provision to terminate, to say, hey, we're happy to give you your deposits back with interest, which is great.
Yep.
Or we terminate and we re-enter into a new legally binding agreement, but the price will obviously be at higher purchase prices.
Right, and we're not just talking about a little bit of an increase. We're talking about like $200,000 to $300,000 of an increase.
Yeah, it's definitely a couple $100,000. That seems to be the trend.
Okay.
You know, so again, the questions we're getting from our clients is this legal?
Right.
And not surprising to us, as we've, you know, as a group of lawyers here at Carson Law, we've reviewed the documentation our clients are giving us and the builder's lawyers are providing, and all the I's and T's are crossed, like dotted and crossed.
Yep.
At the end of the day, they have followed what the contract says, and they have created necessary amendments within the necessary time periods to allow for this condition to live until this, you know, March 2022.
Yep.
And now they've exercised their right under the condition to say, hey, deposits back with some interest to compensate you, or terminate, renegotiate, re-enter into a new one at the higher price.
Right. So it sounds like the builder, just to be clear, is within their legal rights to back out of this contract based off of their financing condition. But as you said, you haven't seen this in all of your years of practice. So for this to happen, it's very unexpected for a buyer to enter into one of those agreements. And most people who buy condos, they're either buying it for themselves or they're buying it as an investment opportunity to flip it over or assign it to somebody else and make the spread and commit to the contract, put down the deposit, all those types of things. So those people are now going to lose out on those condo units. So have these notices been issued to like all of the buyers potentially?
Well, we only know about the ones we represent.
Got it.
You know, and like I said, it's a pretty large development. So, I mean, the number of units we're representing is very small compared to the total number of units. You know, it's probably multiple hundreds or maybe close to 1,000. Like, it would be a big development, right? And we've only been looking at, you know, a half a dozen to a dozen or so right now. But I would have to assume everybody's received these notices of termination, and are receiving the same options, right? Get your deposits back with interest, and I would point out they are offering a higher interest rate than they're legally obligated to provide under the contract.
Right.
So that is some, you know, good business practice by them. Or on the flip side, hey, let's renegotiate and do a new deal. I think where, you know, buyers have to be aware here is, and we, you know, we're talking just in our candid conversation before we started rolling here. You know, what does a buyer need to take from this, or an, you know, a real estate investor? You know, what should they take from this kind of development, this news, this groundbreaking kind of event?
Right.
I mean, you probably need to expect this, like, in the future from others, because everything's just costing more, right? And so, you know, the first question you might ask is there anything we could write into the contract that would prevent this?
Right, like buyer kind of protection.
Yeah, and certainly you could, but only if the builder as the other party to the agreement is going to allow for something like that in their contract.
Right.
And so one of the things that most people, if they've bought from builders before, will know, most of the contract cannot be changed. It's kind of like, this is the agreement, take it or leave it.
Yep.
We'll agree to do some, small modifications here or there.
Yep.
But so really I think the important piece to take from this is, maybe don't count all your chickens before they hatch. Like,
right.
Don't think for sure that this is closed until it's closed.
Right.
I mean, again, completely legal. Everybody seems to be abiding by all the terms of the agreement. Some of our clients have said, well, this just doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem right. Maybe that's true, but legal and right, legal and fair don't always collide together.
Right.
Nobody's doing anything illegal. Nobody's breaching the contract from the ones we've reviewed so far.
Right.
And so the question or the point for people to be aware of when they're buying from builders is, yeah, you need to know the ins and outs of the contract, but you probably need to understand builders always have conditions for them. Usually they relate to financing. Usually they relate to development approval.
Yep.
They're very normal. But very rarely, or if ever, have I seen, and probably a lot of lawyers would say the same, have we ever seen a builder not follow through and exercise one of their conditions? So I guess that's the thing to take away here is, if you are buying from a builder, make sure you know what those builder conditions are.
Right.
Have your lawyer review them and make sure you're aware of them, you understand them, and you understand that there could be a risk that maybe they could exercise them and terminate the agreement. And where are you then several years later?
And so do you think that this is, now that this has happened, going to be something that happens more frequently, just given the time that we just came off of, seeing that inventory is so low still, so people are units are in such high demand that it kind of seems like the builders can pick and choose how they want to lay out their contracts. It's kind of a take it or leave it thing by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I mean, I've never seen a builder do a lot of negotiation. Some of them don't negotiate their contracts at all. It's kind of, here's our contract. It's vetted by our legal reps, and this is what we want. We'll plug and play, purchase price, units, buyers, that kind of stuff. They may cap several different closing cost provisions, but for the most part, that's kind of it, right? Which is very normal, across the board with all the builders that I've ever seen, right?
Yep.
So nobody's doing anything, again, sneaky or illegal or anything like that there. But I think what is completely unique in this scenario is a builder actually using a condition to terminate, which has just never really been seen before, in 16 plus years for me, right? And I'm sure there's lots of lawyers who have practiced longer who have never seen it either. So that's, I think, the big thing is, are you going to get the builder to change and take conditions out? No, probably not.
Right.
But I think now the legal industry, me included, have to be open to the concept that, hey, pandemics can happen and or some other crazy event, and there might be something that actually realistically triggers a builder to do this, to terminate, exercise their right under the contract with a condition, with one of their conditions, because they're usually about them being able to finance the project moving forward, and them crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's with the city and the region about development, right? So they're very important conditions for the builders to have, and so only a prudent builder would have them in. You'd be taking a big risk if you didn't do that.
Right.
So I don't blame the builder for protecting themselves. It's just never been something that, as a buyer, you'd have to worry about, because it's the builder is a reputable builder. They're going to get funded, so that's not going to be a problem. And here we go. Everything will be fine. It's just process to get approval through the city. So at the end of the day, it's just never been seen before. And but I think that's the important thing for us as lawyers and people buying out there to be cognizant of, which is it could get terminated,
right?
Because the builder could exercise a condition.
Right.
I think it's going to be like limited in scope and time. You know, if you were going to a builder today and buying today, you know, COVID seems to be kind of like trickling its way kind of out of the system and that kind of thing.
Yep.
So, and people are already relatively familiar with the increases in cost, labor, transportation, resources.
Right.
So I think prices would have already taken all of that into account if you were doing a new deal.
Right.
You know, inking a new agreement today or in, you know, a year from now.
Yep.
Right? It's the ones that have inked deals, you know, as far back as maybe 4 or 5 or 6 years. It's that kind of gap,
right,
where you might see this springing up more in the future.
Yeah.
If the builders still have conditions on some other developments, you might see this happen potentially with other developments. Right. But only time's going to tell. This has only occurred just with one builder. Obviously, it's made a lot of news headlines, and there's obviously a lot of buyers that are really upset because, again, they're like, oh,
they weren't expecting it.
Yeah, this can't be, you know, A, yeah, weren't expecting it, and B, this can't be legal. Then you find out it is completely legal, or appears to be. But that just doesn't seem fair,
right?
You know, and so it's going to be very interesting to see how this situation develops and unfolds. I think a lot of the buyers collectively as a group have started to, you know, they're talking with politicians and stuff. I don't really know, again, how much retroactively can change, because this is a legally binding contract. How do you retroactively apply a new law to change something, you know, for consumer fairness or something?
Right.
So it's just really interesting. It's going to be very interesting to see how it plays out.
Yep.
But it certainly, well, people are asking the number one question: is it legal?
Right.
You know, could they have actually done this? And based on what we've reviewed, they've done everything as per the contract.
Right.
So it's really just, hey, a little bit of buyer beware, right?
Yeah, buyer beware here.
if you're buying, you know, a builder deal, whether it's a condo, whether it's freehold, you should keep in mind that even though 99% of the time, historically, builders have no problem closing and never exercise their conditions to terminate, it's actually possible, because here we have a real example of it.
Absolutely. Well, buyer beware here with buying or entering into a contract with a builder or a development project. Just really make sure that you go through the full contract with your real estate lawyer and really understand the ins and the outs. And maybe if you have an existing contract, you might want to take a look at some of those terms and conditions, because it is possible that this could happen again, just given the times that we've just come out of with COVID, and given that now a precedent is being set here with this development company. So guys, make sure that you do your due diligence here, talk to your power team, and I guess set your expectations, as if the conditional period isn't up and the deal's not closed, it's not done till it's done, I guess, in this case for sure. So make sure that you take a look at the contract and really understand the ins and outs of that. Also, check out our next video. We're actually going to be breaking down the 5 things that you need to know in order to enter into or negotiate those condo contracts, which by the sounds of it, there's not much negotiation to be had. So it's more about informing yourself and really understanding what you're getting into and things that you really want to understand when you are entering into a development or a condo project. So thank you so much for breaking down this example. This is absolutely crazy that this has happened. So now that it has, make sure that you're aware, follow the news stories. We'll make sure that we post one of the articles just down in the description below so that you can learn a little bit more about the details of this project, and maybe you were affected by it. Make sure that you throw some love in the comment section below and tell us what you think about this, as this is groundbreaking. It's never happened before that we know of, so it's certainly something to talk about, and that's really why we've brought this up here on the channel. So again, thank you so much for tuning in today to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. Make sure you smash that like button and tune in or check out the video where we break down the 5 things that you need to know when buying a condo or that kind of pre-construction building. So thanks again for coming on to the Canadian Real Estate Channel, and Ryan, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Awesome. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.